joined by our head coach, John Gondak, and the assistant coach, Angelo Reckert. And at this time, Coach Gondak will make his opening statement.
Well, thank you, everyone, for attending today. Excited to be at my sixth media days as head coach, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to bring any of our student athletes today because they're on their NCAA flex day today, which they're not allowed to do any media activities. So, but the next best thing instead, Coach Reckert, who is primarily responsible for creating the workouts and organizing practice for cross-country season, the cross-country season ahead. Speaking of the cross-country season, we're obviously coming into the season with the Lock Haven opener next weekend. Then we host a Spike Shoe Invitational on Friday, September 13th, right before the Pitt's home football game on Saturday. So we're looking forward to doing that. Both teams have been practicing for about a little over a week now, and Coach Reckert and I are both very excited about what we've seen so far. Our women's team traditionally has been very strong here. We've been top 20 in the NCAA the last 4 years. We've won 3 of the last 4 regional championships, and we start the season off ranked number 1 in the region and number 14 in the country. Our women are led by 5 outstanding athletes who have been mainstays of this program for the last many years, and so we're excited about their fitness and where things look right now. The interesting thing, or the key for our women's team this year, is who's going to step up to be number 6 and 7. As you know, in cross country, your top 5 scores run. Your top 5 runners score your points, and 6 and 7 are there to provide some depth and displace runners from other teams. So it'll be real interesting to see who steps up into that role this year as we shoot for our 5th consecutive qualification to the NCAA finals. The men right now, from what we've seen, has been the best start to practice. Our men have been top 5 in the region, I think the last 4 to 5 years, which I'm proud to help score Director Cup points for Penn State by finishing top 5 in the region. But this year, I think we've got a special group. We've got a lot of depth, and in men's cross country, from high school to college, you double your race distance. So the high school athletes run 5K, you get to college and they run 8K and 10K, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time for them to develop. The bulk of our team now is juniors and sophomores, so they've been through it, they understand it, and they really put in a great summer of training. So we're start the season ranked 6th in the region, but I told them yesterday after practice, the way things have been going, they're going to surprise a lot of people. So that's where things are. I'll see if anybody has any questions for Coach Reckert or I.
Coach Gondak, you just mentioned the Spike Shoe Invitational, obviously, with there being high school entrance and, it being here at Penn State. Do you ever use that as kind of a marketing tool, and what is that like to really host maybe the next kind of generation, so to speak, of good distance runners?
Sure. So Spike Shoe Meet, we've been hosting here for many, many years. It's actually the official name is the Harry Groves Spike Shoe Invitational, named after Coach Groves, who was an outstanding coach here for many, many years. Him and I spent many a day together setting up the course, which is how I got to learn how to set it up and where everything goes. But yes, we actually encourage high school athletes to come and run, even if they're running individually, if their teams aren't coming to be able to compete on our course. I think we have an outstanding course. Many, many thanks to the athletic department and the golf course for allowing us to run out there and be a part of things, but to run on the surface that is out there and with the setting, the mountains in the background, and to be able to run on a nice course like we have is a huge recruiting tool, and so we like to show it off as much as possible.
And, even, going beyond the recruiting, just the fact that, Penn State is getting to host, a prominent tournament, does that carry some weight and significance to you also?
Yes, absolutely. And both to our student athletes and to our recruits, to be able to host events at home, there's nothing like being able to run in front of your family and friends. And we'll host 2 home meets every year out on the golf course, and then every other year we host the regional championships. Last year it was in a deluge of downpour of rain. It was a little bit messy out there, but and same thing with indoor track. To be able to host the meets that we do and compete in front of your family and friends is it's great for our students. It's great for our team because because when we do host, everybody on the roster is allowed to run, which is, they're not just practicing to try to earn their spots. They can actually go out there and race and earn their way onto the travel rosters.
And, for you, having been a walk-on when you were an athlete at Syracuse, does that inform at all how you coach and, maybe how you handle some of the recruits who aren't coming along as, they might like?
No, that was 25 years ago. I think my experience as a student athlete has helped me open my eyes to, it's not just necessarily the top-tiered individual out there that you need to look at. Some of our best athletes here have been, athletes that have come into the program as non-scholarship athletes and have earned their way through the program and, have developed and gotten better. And so, I think, just my experience has helped open our eyes to, not just look at the top tier kid, but make sure you're looking at everybody and seeing if somebody has a unique story in their athletic background that when they get in an environment like here where there's other athletes that are going to be able to push them and help them get better, that they're going to excel.
And, talking about kind of non-scholarship athletes for a second, I know obviously Dan Tresena is going to be playing for James Franklin this fall, but,
Right.
What was that like for you when he kind of, made the switch and decided to play football?
Sure. So, Dan was somebody that was a great member of our team. He, I think, what was he, third in the 400 in the Big Ten championships. I think at one point running 46-25 for 400. He was ranked 25th in the country, so top 25 athlete as an individual. But I knew his heart was in football, and he's got a great opportunity, and we're excited to hopefully see him on the field a lot this fall. And it was exciting for him to earn a scholarship last spring, and I know his family's really proud of him, and we're really proud of him, and I'm excited for him to have a great experience this fall representing the football program.
And, Coach Recker, Coach Gondak said, you kind of come up with a lot of the training programs and things like that. Does the way you train or kind of the philosophy behind some of the programs change as the season progresses?
I kind of, not necessarily. Every year you're going to kind of evaluate where your team is and, what they can handle physically. But for the most part, it's aerobic strength. And, you'll see how they respond to a certain workout and maybe cater to their needs as you go through the season. But no, just really getting as aerobically strong as possible. We have a great, variety of trails to train on here and help prepare, cross-country. Obviously, there's a lot of hills involved, so we have that here. We can train on hills, which helps significantly in our workouts as we get ready to race some bigger races on some hilly courses.
And, as those bigger races arise, how do you make sure that these guys, from a training perspective, aren't peaking too early and are really training, at the right intensity for the right times?
Yeah. Well, the better that we get to know our individuals, we'll be able to read them that much better. So we don't have our top 4 right now, or top 5 actually, we've been able to watch them the past year and a half in their training, so we really know on the women's side how they respond to certain training. But no, it's really just reading how they respond and continuing to, prepare as the year goes on. Keeping the strength up is really important, through tempos and, longer workouts. That's always our goal. But
We've found over the years that, there's this terminology of peaking at the right moment. And, if you're running a certain level of mileage and you bring that way down because you want to rest and try to peak for a certain meet, that your body is so used to that rhythm of where you're training all year long. If you change that significantly going into a championship race, your body's going to rebel against you. It's going to be like, well, I'm used to doing all of these routines, and now I'm down here. What's going on? And you're going to feel a little bit sluggish. So we tend to have a philosophy of just kind of keeping it even, kind of just a steady progression all year long. And, you might cut back on some of the volume and intensity as you get to championship time, but, the peaking is really just getting the athletes to believe that they're ready to go, ready to roll.
You said this is your 6th year now at the helm of the program. How do you think you've, grown, not just as a coach, but also maybe, as a mentor to a lot of these people and as, really growing cross-country, not just at Penn State, but kind of in the NCAA?
That's a good question. So, this is my 6th year here, 14th overall at Penn State. And I think every year is a growing experience. You know, you have new athletes that come into the program that challenge you in different ways, and you have to grow to learn who they are and how they are and what they're going to respond to, which is going to be different than what maybe some of the people that responded to 10 years ago. You know, when we had guys like, well, I'm going to reference track guys more, but, you know, guys like Robbie Crease and Brandon Kidder and those guys in a lot of ways, they were very easy. They were just that talented that they could go out there and get the job done no matter what. And now you've got some people that you've really got to maybe become better coaches for, and that challenges you and helps you become better. So it's been fun 14 years here, and I'm looking forward to many more. And I think every year you'll just continue to grow based off of the new people that come into the program and challenge you.
You know, you talked about the importance of kind of the fifth and sixth men up on the depth chart, so
Yes.
to speak, playing the role of spoilers. You know, how do you set somebody in the right mindset to be in that role? You know, because I'm sure a lot of people want to, you know, jump in the starting lineup. You know, is it something that they grow into? Is it something you have to instill in them?
Well, the nice thing, an interesting thing about our sport is, you know, everybody lines up, and on that day, your 1 through 7 can be any, you know, the best 7 for that day. And that's why it's important to have a good 6th and 7th in case someone who's normally in your top 5 has an off day. You know, obviously you hope they don't, but you want to be able to provide depth and push each other. And so the biggest thing that we can do as coaches is provide an atmosphere at practice where they feel like they're being challenged, but they also feel like they're being successful. And if they can do that, whether they're number 1, whether they're number 7, whether they're number 10, for us, it doesn't matter who finishes where, as long as we do the best we can do as a team. But you want the athletes to feel like, hey, man, I'm ready to go. And the way they get that feeling is by at practice every day, feeling like I got the job done today, so I'm going to be ready to go when race day comes around.
And, you know, obviously you don't prepare guys to come in, you know, 5th, 6th, or 7th, and it's kind of a product of the chips falling where they may. But, you know, do you have to, I don't know if console is the right word, but, you know, counsel guys and say, listen, you know, you finished in 5th and that's okay, you know, you still helped the team?
Yeah. You know, that's the biggest challenge that some of these high school superstars, so to speak, have coming to college is you're used to winning everything all the time. And it's hard to change your mindset to be like, hey, you know, if we're at the NCAA championship, if you're 50th, that's really good. When they're used to winning, you know, they've won 4 state championships in a row. So there is a significant amount of consoling's not the right word, but just helping them understand what their role is, and that you can be 50th place in a meet and it be something that's really going to help our program. And so there's constantly having talks like that and helping people understand what their roles are and who they need to be and, you know, what they can do for us.
You know, Coach Record, again, kind of you talked about training, and Coach Gondak mentioned it, but, you know, are there certain things that you've seen, whether there be trends or certain things that maybe don't work that you tried for a long time and now kind of you're re-implementing, you know, or certain trends that are present that you're not a fan of or are a fan of?
I don't know if from the physical standpoint, I think the biggest thing is getting everybody bought in what we're doing. And I think a lot of that may fluctuate depending on the group that you have. Maybe we will tweak some things around just to kind of really get them excited about the type of training that we're doing. But I would say getting them really excited about the training will help significantly. But I think from the most part, what we've seen so far, both men and women are pretty excited. They're responding really well to the training that we're doing. So I think it's going to be a great fall.
You know, Coach Gondak, you know, you talked about the spiked shoe as kind of a recruiting tool, so to speak. But beyond that, you know, how much of it is Penn State selling itself? How much of it is, you know, the product that you guys are putting out there as a team?
So I've always said that if you know, we can get the prospective student athletes to campus, when they see what we have, more often than not, we're going to convince them to come back for an official visit. And you know, at that point, then it's about the team, you know, them spending time with the kids on our team and getting to know them. But, you know, we have amazing opportunities here, amazing facilities. The athletic department does an amazing job with providing us with the resources and the facilities that we need to be able to go out and try to land the very best recruits that we can. I'm really excited. We have some really talented kids visiting over the next 4 weekends are going to be really busy for us, and looking forward to showing them everything that Penn State has to offer, both academically and athletically. When you have that combination of academics and athletics, it goes a long way towards helping people decide that this is where they want to be. All right, just say thank you very much. That might be a record for the most questions asked at Media Day, so for cross country, so I appreciate that.
Of course.